So real.
Hello, America. We're coming to you live, the American Awakening Squad. Good to be here with you today on this, what is a beautiful, albeit cold day where I am. Hope it's nice where you are. I know a lot of you on the East Coast and around the country went through some tough storms last day. And we're thinking about you out there. Not only the weather, but also, of course, in this time of great challenge across this land. But we're here for you. We're here for you every day. We show up every day to tell you God loves you. He's got a plan for your life. He's got a purpose beyond this adversity you're in right now. You're made to get beyond this. And we come together every day, the Signs of Life crew, to tell you that in different forms and fashions. And the first way we tell you every day is by song. And we're going to kick it off here with our friend, Josh Jacob. What do you have for us, JBJ?
Yeah, thank you very much. All right, here we go. Will your grace run out if I let you down? And all I know is out to run. I am a sinner. If it's not one thing, it's another. Tied up in words, tangled in lies. You are a savior, and you take brokenness aside and make it beautiful, beautiful. Will you call me child if I tell you lies? And all I know is how to cry. I am a sinner. If it's not one thing, it's another. Tied up in words, tangled in lies. You are a savior, and you take brokenness aside and make it beautiful, beautiful, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, you make it beautiful. You make it beautiful, yeah. You make it beautiful. You make it beautiful. I am a sinner. If it's not one thing, it's another. Tied up in words, tangled in lies. You are a savior, and you take brokenness aside and make it beautiful, beautiful. And make it beautiful, beautiful. And make it beautiful, beautiful.
It's good. Thank you.
Amen. Amen.
We live every day in that hope. Looking forward to the day that it will all be beautiful. It'll all be redeemed. Because that's the story. That's the big story we're living every single day part of. It doesn't look good some of these days out there in the family or in the workplace or loss of job or health issues or big storms or whatever, but eventually it all becomes beautiful. Thanks for reminding us of that, Josh. Really appreciate that today. We've got a special show. We've got the iconic Third Day band leader, Mac Powell, today from
Big Day.
Nice. Yeah, exactly. Dan Haseltine's bringing us great music every day. Thank you so much, Dan and Josh, for the music you bring to us. Really appreciate that. It really does lighten the load and cast your eyes skyward. Really appreciate that. Okay, so we are going to go to a man that was literally in the center of the storm until just hours ago. His power was not up and running until just before the show. Our man in Florida, Gainesville's own Joel Searby. Pastor Joel, tell us about the storm. Tell us about the we're in.
Yeah, we had storms all night last night here in Florida and into the morning. Lost power, 7:30 this morning, and we're out for a little while. But we're back. We're here. We're persevering, and we're going to bring you the daily dose today. So that's my job. Part of this crew is to bring you guys a little thought each day that hopefully turns your eyes to something that will bring you hope and goodness. And this week on the Daily Dose, we're talking about freedom. And if you haven't subscribed to the email, you can get this in your inbox at americanawakening.us/daily dose. Sign up to get it in your inbox every day. We've got lots and lots of people doing that, and it's so fun to bring that to you every day. Today's thought is this: humans were created in a state of freedom, not bondage. This is a foundational truth that I think we forget about when we read the biblical narrative of God creating the earth. We were created in freedom. Bondage came through the fall, through choices that Adam and Eve made, through choices that we make. We enslave one another and ourselves into bondage, but we were created in freedom. Now, I know a lot of days it doesn't feel like that. We feel bound up in all kinds of ways. We talked about that yesterday. And especially now, you may really not feel free. But I want to live into the tension of the already and the not yet, as I'm drawing a blank on the theologian's name who said that, but the tension of the already and the not yet. And that is to say that we can actually experience parts of the fullness of God's freedom for our life now. Freedom is possible right now, and God has made a way because that's our intended state of being. Now, it's not easy and it's not cheap, and it comes very difficult sometimes, because we're not fully restored yet. There are times when we are going to experience bondage. We're going to experience brokenness, but there is a promise and a sense in which we can find real freedom on this side of heaven. And so I want us to lean into that. And here's my practical application for today. If you feel bound in some area, start your journey to freedom by just entertaining the possibility that you can be free on this side of heaven. Just let your mind and your heart entertain the possibility. Let your mind go there and believe that we can actually experience a certain kind of freedom while we're here on this side of heaven. And while our reality may be bondage from time to time, God's intended state for our souls and our lives is freedom. We can speak that out over one another, over ourselves, and He made it possible because that is His desire. And I love the Lord's Prayer in so many different ways, but I want us to pray it today in this way: that your kingdom would come and your will would be done on earth as it is in heaven, in our lives, in freedom as it is in heaven. Let your freedom ring, God, and let it ring in us today. That's my daily dose. Back to you, John.
Thank you very much, Joel. The now and not yet is such a profound idea. Thanks so much for bringing us to that spot. And the next line, of course, the Lord's Prayer, one that I've been trying to pray into my entire life, often failing, but give us this day our daily bread, which of course is the idea of not just food, but whatever we need for the day. God's got us in the day. God doesn't tell you how He's going to got you for next week or next month or next year. He's got you in this day, and that's the day that you've got to live in God's presence. So thank you, Joel. And now to Jeff Bethke in Hawaii. I'm guessing you have better weather there, perhaps?
We do. But we did have a tsunami warning last week, so, it can hit anyone and everyone. But Joel, I love that. Thanks for sharing that. And also, I don't think you can tell right there, but I added a little surfboard in the office. So that's what that is. I still got to kind of finish it and paint it. It's a wood one, trying to go vintage on them. I won't actually be using it. Decoration only. I love when the Lord just kind of
creates a little symbiotic nugget between me and Joel, even though we don't know what each other's going to share. But I want to, and today is that, and it's really cool. And I want to add just a little bit of encouragement more to your day in saying with the Easter theme. I'll probably bring back random studies and stuff like that, like I always do in a couple of days, but I want to just sit in the Easter moment a little longer and linger a little longer. And one thing I want to talk about with what Joel talked about with freedom is this paradigm that was really helpful to me when you kind of zoom out of the scriptures and you see something going on here. And it's this concept, these concepts of clean and unclean. So the Bible has a lot to say about something being clean and a lot to say about something being unclean. And there's various acts in the play, whether it's Old Testament, the Torah, the New Testament, of what that means, why that means that, and implications for that in that particular act of the play. But one thing that's really, really powerful that I love that I just noticed recently is kind of this explosive nature of Jesus and how that fundamentally changes the nature of unclean and clean things. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, first of all, I think a lot of us think that Jesus is just this pithy, hippie, long-haired white guy, which first of all, by the way, have you ever been to the Middle East? Like, he looks a lot darker than what I see, on TV. Like he doesn't look like that, he looks probably like he was actually a first century Hebrew Jewish male in the Middle East. And with that has nothing to do with my point, but I just wanted to add that in there. But with that, because I think our depictions actually matter of how we actually model and show Jesus. But with that, what we see is that he isn't this flimsy hippie-like Jesus, but he actually was really explosive and powerful in nature. And what we see is this fundamental kind of equation that he flips on his head when he shows up. So almost every example in the Old Testament, when something unclean comes in contact with something clean, as you guys could guess, who wins in those moments? Almost always the unclean wins, meaning both things become unclean. Not both things become clean. Ceremoniously unclean or actually physically unclean, but the unclean almost always wins. It's almost as if evil or darkness or uncleanliness is kind of infectious, which that's a word we're even using a lot right now at this moment. And it kind of spills out onto things, right? But then all of a sudden you see in the New Testament the act of the play turn. There's this new climax moment where this God-man, God in the flesh, shows up. And now that equation is exactly flipped. Now anything unclean that comes in contact with Jesus instantly becomes clean. You have the story of the woman that touches just his robe. So just his actual fabric that he was wearing. Instantly she's clean with what? I think 12 or 14 years of kind of struggle and wrestle in that story. And so I think that's just my encouragement today. Have you understood that the nature of Jesus is actually deeply explosive? That all you have to do is be in his presence. All you have to do is barely touch him and you immediately become clean. There's something explosive and powerful about the resurrection that is not just some sentiment or some sentimental value, but actually this punch that actually heals us and brings us the freedom Joel was talking about. And so have you sat in that today? That's something to chew on. Have you wrestled with that? And have you understood that it has nothing to do with how unclean you are? He still wins. He still wins, right? No one goes out with a little bit of mud on their arm and is afraid to, have the sunshine on them because they might blot out the sun. You're like, no, it doesn't work like that. Fundamentally, the sun is a power that is deeply more explosive than whatever you're looking like, and it will shine on you no matter how you step outside. And Jesus and his power is the exact same. And I'm praying that for you today and hope you can step into that as well. So that's something to chew on.
Thank you, Jeff. That is really strong, compelling stuff. And I'll tell you, I often say this when I tell my friends about this, the gang, the team, the squad that's here. I do this if it was just us doing it because it's so much fun and so much encouragement. The words that you guys share with me are such light and life for me that I'm so grateful. So that's a good one. Explosive. Jesus is explosive. The goodness is something which explodes on you. That's fantastic. I never thought about it quite that way. All right. We're going to shift gears here and we're going to go to our wow. So that's happening section of the show. And we're going to kick it over to our friend Calvin Lee. And then in turn, we're going to do a little discussion time where Marissa's going to bring us through the conversation about great teams out there, great squads, great teams, being part of great teams and teamwork. Calvin, what do you got for us?
All right. First of all, doubling down on that, John, grateful for all of you guys and grateful for everyone who's tuning in. We love you. And it's just as much of a gift for us to be here with you every day. So yeah, a couple stories, a few stories that will lead into the discussion question that Marissa will be introducing about great teams. But in the spirit of banding together and the idea that, hey, teamwork makes the dream work, we got a few stories for you. So first, state governors around the country are banding together to create regional coalitions to build coordinated strategies for reopening their economies. On the East Coast, we have New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts, all working together. The Rhode Island governor, Gina Raimondo, she said that the reality is this virus doesn't care about state borders, and our response shouldn't either. On the West Coast, we have governors from California, Oregon, Washington, and they have agreed on a regional pact to reopen their economies as well. And in the upper Great Plains region of the country, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz told reporters he'd contact the governors of Michigan and Wisconsin to begin thinking regionally in terms of opening up the economies in each state. Nothing been confirmed yet, but stay tuned, and we look forward to hearing more. On other news, we know that millions of newly unemployed Americans are now flooding food banks, food pantries, and soup kitchens. Well, the American Farm Bureau, which represents American agriculture producers and Feeding America, a network of 200 food banks and 60,000 food pantries nationwide, have teamed up on a call on government officials, including the U.S. Department of Agriculture Secretary Sonny Perdue, to help connect farmers with food banks. So it's been pretty crazy, actually, that food banks across the U.S. are reporting a 40% increase in demand. Yet we have farmers who are destroying their crops due to a lack of need because restaurants have closed down. And you even have some dairy farmers around the country that are dumping fresh milk because they're no longer needed because schools have closed down. So again, these two organizations are proposing a voucher program that would increase the relationship between farmers and food banks, allowing them to work directly with one another. Usually both sides would go through a third party, but which can often delay the food getting to the food bank shelves and the people who need them. But this voucher system would send the farm products straight to the food banks and would help farmers and ranchers recoup costs from lost markets. And it would help restaurants and tourism businesses shuttered in by the pandemic get back on their feet. It would also help people get farm fresh products quickly to families in need. Very important. Lastly, we have a coalition of private and nonprofit organizations that have announced an initiative to help donate hand-sewn masks and stored away medical equipment directly to hospitals more efficiently. We all know the need in hospitals right now, and so we're especially excited about this. So if you have any N95 masks to contribute, or if your company has leftover gloves sitting in the supply closet, feel free to mail them in for free. There's no minimum to donate. Organizations such as UPS, Microsoft, the American Hospital Association, and the Kaiser Permanente are among those that build out the infrastructure with a project called Protecting People Everywhere. Cool, because it actually has the same initials of personal protective equipment, PPE. The coalition primarily asked for gloves, medical grade respirators, goggles, and gowns. So if there's anyone out there who's listening who's interested in donating, you can get started by visiting their website, health-equip.com. And these are our stories for today. Hope they encourage you, and again, should segue pretty nicely into our discussion topic of the day. So over to you, Marissa.
Thanks, Calvin. Yeah, again, in the headlines everywhere, amidst all the other stuff that's going on, it's very clear that now more than ever, we've got to team up. Great teams are coming together. Yesterday, we heard about tech companies who have never worked together before. They're coming together now because the need is great. And most of the time in our normal lives, we know that we need people. We know that we need to work together. But of course, in times of crisis, it's way more crucial. But also, it's not only crucial, we know there's also a lot of benefit that comes out of great teams. Oftentimes the most disruptive, innovative work is done in teams. And so as people are coming together now and trying to find ways to cross borders and work together where they hadn't before, I just wanted to take some time to think about great teams, especially amongst the guys on my team. We've all been a part of great teams before, whether they're sports teams or work teams or teams trying to launch any kind of project, startup or whatever. We've also, I know we've also got a lot of history buffs on the team. So folks are pretty knowledgeable about great groups of people that have come together before to do things that have never been done. So the question today are, what are some of the best, what are some of the lessons that you've learned either on great teams that you've been a part of, that you've learned in history from great teams that you've observed? Sort of what sets them apart? And now as people are trying to come together because we need to, what are some of the things that we can learn from the great teams that we've experienced? Jeff.
Oh, you calling me?
Ooh, I'm calling you
Great
out.
question.
Jeff.
I think, I mean, even what I referenced, I think a week or two ago, remember with the kindergartners versus the business school graduates, that was actually a book on teams that I got that study from. And the collaborative roll up your sleeve nature that the kindergartners showed versus a lot of us kind of, the more older we get, tend to get more and more self-guarded, and how that's actually a principle that we can see in successful teams, even outside of kindergartners, that the most successful ones tend to have a really like roll up your sleeves, dive in, we're all in this together, we're all working together. And I think the more you can lose kind of a self-guarding and lean into vulnerability and working together collaboratively, that tends to be when really powerful things happen. And then I don't know the exact math, but I remember there was some, crazy data or mind-blowing magic on like, one horse can pull 100 pounds. You would think two horses could pull 200 pounds, but when they're together, they pull like, 500 pounds or something like that. I don't know the exact math. I can't remember, but I remember reading a study like that. And that basically, to me, I love that because I've seen that over and over again in strong teams, that when you work together, you're not just doing addition, you're doing multiplication. And when you find great teams, that's how you know it's a great team, is I think you're producing multiplication, not just addition. And that's really, really powerful and fun to be a part of. So that's what I would say.
That's cool.
Have you
Joel,
been any? Oh, I'm sorry, Marissa.
No, that's all right. Go ahead, JK.
I was wondering, Jeff, since you're a ball player, were you on any sports teams that you thought of as like, hey, that was a real special experience for me?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we won the junior college I went to before university. We won like the national championship thing or whatever, got the rings and all that. So that was a fun team and a fun run. And I think, and then also we got second place in state and high school. And I think so a couple of the big successful baseball teams I was on, a big factor of those is just fun. I realized looking back, like both the coaches were super fun, the teams were super fun. And I think that's a huge lesson too. A lot of times we think being more stern and strict or whatever will be the way to success. But I feel like when you're just kind of playing light, when you're just playing free, not just in baseball, but I think in life, you tend to just kind of go after it more. And I think that's a fun pattern that I've seen in my life. So that I think is true.
I appreciate that. That's good stuff.
That is a good word about freedom, and how if you're in an environment or you create an environment where people feel free, people probably, are more able to tap into creativity, are more able to take chances. They're not afraid of failure. It's a good word. Freedom, cultivating freedom. Joel, you've spent a lot of time on a lot of different teams.
I've been on a lot of teams. Yeah, that's true. And I know I'm supposed to be the pastor, go deep on this one. I'm actually going to go with the Chicago Bulls in the 90s. Because, I mean,
that is deep.
Two different three. And here's the nugget I guess I would take away. And it is tied back to what you guys are talking about. There's something about chemistry, right? About everybody understanding their roles and then getting people to not only understand them, but actually accept their roles. I loved Steve Kerr and Dennis Rodman. I mean, Jordan, of course, was amazing, and Pippen was great. And there were so many other great players on those teams. But Steve Kerr and Dennis Rodman, to me, like those were guys who knew their role and they stayed in their lane, and they were incredible parts of those teams. And so I remember that a lot. I played on a team like that my sophomore year of college. We went to the NCAA Sweet 16 in basketball. We had a superstar who could hit threes from anywhere on the court, and my job was to set picks for him and rebound. But there was something about having that freedom within the system that you knew. And so on a great team for me, it's about, again, knowing your role and sticking in that role, but also really receiving that role and playing that role with a lot of joy and just accepting it. And I think one other piece of that is the leadership, right? Because there's been so many studies about how Phil Jackson managed that team and managed all those personalities. And he did it with a real kind of artfulness. So great leaders know how to bring teams and get everybody playing in their right roles.
So you were the Rodman of that squad then.
Yeah, I don't have quite as many tattoos and piercings, but yeah, that was me.
You're light in that category.
But you got the same hair as we saw yesterday.
That's right.
So this is timely. The last
I can't bring the hair
coming out, right? The Last Dance is going to be the 10-part documentary series on the Chicago Bulls run. It starts on Sunday, I believe, on ESPN.
Yes,
and we're looking forward to that. With no sports out there, it's reputed to be the perhaps the most watched short series in sports world of all time. So we'll see.
Wow.
Okay.
JK,
right.
you're such a history buff. I'm leaning into you. I know you've been plugged into historical figures and folks of impact. When you think about a team, though, who has like stood out to you through time?
Wow, I wish I'd done a better job preparing for this. I'd love to come up with something a little more original, but of course Doris Kearns Goodwin wrote about Lincoln and his team of rivals, which I think is really instructive in just if you're not familiar with it. Team of rivals is a concept of really independent-minded people who were not of the same views. So it wasn't one of those that everybody didn't know their lanes on this team. It's kind of different than the Bulls that Joel was just referencing. They're all vying for attention. They're angling for spotlight. They fought each other a lot and all that. Well, the reason why that was such a profound move by Lincoln, and it matters sometimes good teams, teams that need to be constructed for a time and for a moment are not ones that are going to live harmoniously together. Not everybody's selfless and all that sort of thing. In this case, it was because basically you needed a coalition government. You needed everybody from all sides to try to tug the nation back together with all the, tremendous chasm that was already existing. So basically you had to, if you're constructing that team and you're Lincoln, you had to look beyond the fact that they were selfish, thinking of themselves, putting themselves in the spotlight, not always pulling the same oars, to say, okay, I can live with that, because ultimately what I need to do is bigger than the team working harmoniously, people being in the right lanes and all that sort of thing. So kind of, I guess, the other end of the spectrum of a squad like the Bulls with Rodman and Kerr knowing exactly what they were supposed to do every day. The team of rivals played it the other way, but toward a larger end.
That's good. That's really, really good. I mean, I wouldn't say that we're that bad as a team. I would say we're that bad. But one of the things
we're the 90s Bulls right here.
Well, somewhere in between, I'm sure. But no, I think it's really great that, on our team, on the American Awakening team, we represent a whole lot of different backgrounds, denominational differences. We think very differently, even in those of us who might seem like we're very similar. But I love the fact that in our work, the work that we've mounted right now in this time to sort of declare something different out to the world, we've taken it really seriously, that we need a wide tent, that there shouldn't be sort of the regular suspects at our table. When we're gathering people to declare a word and to bring people together, we've gone out of our way to bring the people who are kind of overlooked, to bring the people that are on the fringe. And there's something about a team that can internally hold an interest in those that no one's thinking about, I think is really powerful in the world. Everybody else is typically going to the folks that you know of. But when you seek out and you make it a point to declare to the hopeless or to the overlooked that there's more for them, I got to believe that God's back in that all day. So yeah, no, that's just one of the things that excites me about this team.
That's good.
Calvin, were you going to say something? I don't want to skip over.
That's really good.
No. You know what? I'm going to double down that. Yeah, this team really is special. And I don't think I've ever been a part of a team quite like this one. Again, I was going to go with initially the 1980 U.S. Olympic hockey team, the Miracle on Ice story. But yeah, just not wanting to actually stray from your point, Marissa, but actually double down on that. There is actually, what came to mind is there's something special also about the intentionality, whether it is divine, but even also for us here about trying to assemble a team that looks differently and that does think differently. I think it is something that does not come naturally. I think we usually tend to be drawn toward people who think like us, who look like us for that matter. But to bring together a team that is multiracial, multi-generational, and for each to have a seat at the table. I think that is different, and it is something that needs to be modeled now. And I think, the more we see that, I think the more natural it could become, or the more normalized it could become. So I think, again, when I think of great teams, the teams are these kind of motley crews, right? The ones that have brought people that usually shouldn't be together, and yet they're able to do something special or great in the moment.
That's right.
Yeah.
John, thanks for keeping us multi-generational. We couldn't do this without you.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. He went there.
Wow.
One of these things doesn't look like the other. I know. Gray hair, all that. Okay. All right. Thanks for calling it out, bro.
That's right. That's right.
Hold that spot down.
I was going to say one more thing, too. If we are talking about teams, we do have to recognize, as a Washington kid, we do have to recognize the 1995 Seattle Mariners, who never won anything, never won a World Series, but one of the best teams of all time. Ken Griffey, A-Rod, Randy Johnson. I mean, come on. Any Washington people, I had to shout that one out.
That was special. And you were how old in 95?
6.
All right. That was a fun team.
Wow.
That was. And they never won anything, but they were iconic.
No, they were iconic. And also, Mariners have a history of this. For you sports buffs out there, that their 2000 team, was it, that won 114
or 116 games?
Yeah, exactly. And then it didn't advance in the playoffs. That was brutal. That was brutal.
We don't talk about Seattle sports much, but the Seahawks won 1 Super Bowl, and that was good enough. And then we almost, got depressed from the next year with the interception with the Patriots. But moving on,
We've got that Malcolm Butler pick on our offense.
Brutal.
So
that's a painful Seattle moment.
We're a big sports memorabilia crew, and Malcolm Butler stepping in. And I seriously, I'm a huge Patriots fan. I'm a huge sports fan, Boston sports fan, but I've really felt badly for Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson in that moment, man. That was it.
And Marshawn Lynch.
Marshawn. Marshawn wasn't quiet about not getting the ball with me.
No. Oh, that it still hurts 5 years later or whenever.
I know. That one's one of those that you never quite forget. All right. So since we're talking football, we're over to the movie clip of the day, which also has to do with teamwork and living in the moment. Right, Marissa?
It absolutely does. It does. And some have said that this, I don't want to give too much away, but some have said that this is one of the greatest performances that this actor has ever given. Now, I know that bar is very high. I think the audience just has to decide for themselves.
Who's the actor, though?
Well, I don't want to give it away. No spoilers. No spoilers.
All right. We're just going to run it.
Yeah, run it.
We're in hell right now, gentlemen. And we can stay here, or we can fight our way back into the light. And either we heal now as a team, or we will die as individuals. Now, what are you gonna do?
We can't see the whole team.
That's good.
Cut it off there.
I forgot about that movie. That's a good one.
I have to say that speech, I wish we really could have played the whole thing. The whole thing is like 4 minutes long or something. But I mean, the way that Al Pacino takes it, and it starts personal, then it goes large. It's appealing to all the guys. And what are we going to do, guys? What are we going to do? It's like, it's great.
Give credit for Marissa every day pulling these out. And when I saw this one show up today on the show list, I'm like, Marissa, I mean, you really understand guys. You really understand guys.
You know what? No comment. No comment.
All right. So we've been holding the great Mac Powell backstage here, and time to pull him to the forefront with our friend Dan Haseltine. Dan, great to see you as always.
What's up, guys?
Hello, Mac.
Hello.
Howdy. How are you guys?
Good. Wow. I'm so stoked. This is like I'm living my best middle school self right here, Mac. Third day all day.
With Dan right here.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, still right. I see.
It was a soundtrack of when I was like 12 to 16, incredibly. What was the one? Yeah, that one where it's like you count to like 6 in the beginning of the song, and then it has that huge. What was that one?
Consuming Fire on the first.
Oh,
album.
that one was fire. That one was fire.
Yeah,
Incredible.
Yes, sir. Amazing. Well, we are here. I'm coming in from Nashville. Nashville weather not as bad as New England weather. That's probably not a surprise to most people. New Englanders, we have good respect for you and the storms that you endure. Let's see here. This is a great day. I'm super excited to have Mac on with us. You guys are talking about teams, and a lot of times, when I think about teams, I think about bands, because it takes a lot of maturity, effort, time, vulnerability to be in a band and do it for a long time. And Mac knows, I've known that if you're going to be a band for longer than 10 years, you have to do a lot of hard work to get there and respect the other guys that you're working with. Mac and I both kind of started up at the same time in the music world. We shared a stage. Mac, if you remember this, 7-ball stage at Cornerstone Music Festival. I believe it was 1994.
Yeah, 95, I think.
Was it 95? Yeah. This underneath a tent, side stage at some music festival, and you guys played, and Jars played, and I think at that point we just we found an extra set of a band of brothers in you guys and Third Day back then, and just have loved being able to kind of spend a good long time in the music world with you guys. So but I want to just do a proper introduction for you. Mac he's the primary frontman, songwriter for Third Day initially. But beyond that, you guys, Grammy Award winners, American Music Award winners, all of the above in the awards category you guys have been able to achieve. Played some of the great shows that I remember. What I remember mostly, though, is that Third Day, you and the guys being just some of the nicest guys in the world, that Jars of Clay, we would test out stage outfits in front of Third Day audiences.
Yes, I loved it.
This is one of the things that we just started doing over the years. Is we started doing the first time Jars went out and we played in these really short tennis shorts, and during a season, we did that in front of a Third Day audience just to make sure it was okay.
I remember that we were playing at a racetrack in, I think, Indiana or something like that. And there's, I don't know if my memory serves correct, but I feel like there were probably 2,000 or 3,000 people there at this little racetrack. And you guys are wearing these little Shorty shorts before they were cool, and just white T-shirts. And I was like, I can't say on air here what I asked you initially, but let's just say basically it was like, are you really going to wear that?
Yeah.
We have pictures of it. We need pictures.
There are pictures out there. You don't really want to have to search for them. And then we also did that with in the Good Monsters era for Jars. We did that with these super fuzzy. We looked like Muppets on stage. We put on these full body monster costumes, and we tested those out in front of a Third Day audience also.
Somebody asked a second ago if is there a photo for the short shorts. I actually have one, but the problem is the stage was about 8 feet, 10 feet off the ground, and I'm on the front row going up. So
so you just don't want to. That's good. That photo didn't make it into CCM magazine.
No, it did not.
No. But Mac, you've been doing a lot of solo stuff, which this is one of the things that I've always loved. Is that also being, you're part of a band, but then also you've been able to kind of spread out and now kind of find your own voice as a solo artist. Starting a couple years ago, I was trying to figure it out because I know that you put out an initial Mac Powell record, then Southpaw, and then you've done some things with it was Mac Powell and the Family Reunion, right? That's right. And then, but what are you doing these days? What is that looking like for you?
Yeah, well, just to catch some people up who maybe don't know who I am or have heard about Third Day in the past, I was in a band Third Day, as you guys said, for 25 years almost. Yeah. We had our farewell tour in June of 2018. So this coming up summer will be 2 years since we've been disbanded. And since that time, and even before that, whenever Third Day would have a break, I would go out and do some country shows in these little bars and clubs across the U.S. and, play hopefully in front of some people that would normally not come to a Third Day or a Christian concert, and just trying to do some country music that I grew up listening to that I love. And so I've been doing that for the past few years, and, able to have that great balance of still doing some things within the church, but at the same time being able to step outside of the walls of the church. So I think that's what, as believers, that's what we all should be doing. I know that's what you guys in Jars have done for so long. And so it's been a lot of fun being able to do that.
Yeah, that's great. I love that you're doing it. I've loved that. I mean, it just feels very natural. It doesn't feel like a non sequitur for you to be in that space and making the music that you're making right now. And that's, right. I think that's part of making good music is music that you can play and people kind of go, yeah, you know what? I believe that. I believe what he's saying. So
absolutely. And I think for me, it's not, I've realized it's not a thing where I'm going to go back and forth in seasons. It's just kind of like, I'm always going to do it. I'm going to always love making country music, and I'm always going to love making Christian music as well. And then somehow trying to find that balance of being able to play to both worlds, and wherever I am, and know what the audience is and play to that. But at the same time, if I'm in front of a more mainstream audience, know that it's always going to be a gospel element presented in there. And then when I'm playing at a church, I'm going to always want to kind of scoot in some country music in there too.
Good. Yeah. Well, hey, what do you think about scooting in some music today? Would you play us some songs?
I would love to.
Really?
I'm going to play a song for you that I'm scared to death. I'm honestly very scared of this because I haven't played in months and months and months. I haven't sang or played. So who knows if I'm going to remember the words to this song, but you don't know the words either. So it's not going to matter. I can make something up. Hear this acoustic guitar?
Yeah, we're hearing it.
This is called Red on a Rose. I think it's a song about, it was on my latest country album. It was just self-titled Mac Powell and the Family Reunion. It's about knowing that in times in life, like very similar to what we're going through now, every single one of us have gone through struggles in life. That's part of life. And the spoiler alert is if you haven't gone through a hard time or struggle, you're going to. That's just the way things are in life. And there's always somebody who helps us through that struggle, helps us through that hard time. And if for some of us, it could be our faith, or it could be a neighbor, it could be a relative, someone in our family, whatever the case be. Someone helps us through. We can't do it on our own. And so I think when we've gone through that hard time and gone through that struggle and made it through, how can we not reach out and want to help someone else who's gone through similar situations and hard times as well? So this is a song about that, and this is called Red on a Rose. Sometimes life don't work out like you planned it. Sometimes it's so hard to understand it. Which way's up and which way's down? What you're looking for ain't always found. Well, I'll be your blue sky when it's raining, and the green grass under your feet. When the world gets complicated, you can count on me. I'll be your shelter when you need one. When the winds of winter blow, I will hold you close and never let you go, like a red on a rose. Sometimes you feel like your prayers aren't answered. Sometimes you might fall taking chances. If you do, I'm there to catch you. If you wanna give up, I won't let you. No, I'll be your blue sky when it's raining, and the green grass under your feet. When the world gets complicated, you can count on me. And I'll be your shelter when you need one. When the winds of winter blow, I will hold you close and never let you go, like a red on a rose. I'll be your blue sky when it's raining, and the green grass under your feet. When the world gets complicated, you can count on me. I'll be your shelter when you need one. When the winds of winter blow, I will hold you close and never let you go, like a red on a rose, like a red on a rose.
Woo.
Woo!
Yeah.
That was incredible. Oh,
Yeah.
Great,
amazing
Mac.
song.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Fantastic.
I lost
Hey,
my guitar somewhere in there, but it's
It was
okay.
just on that last bit. It actually sounded great. I thought,
I thought it was part of the emotional
Good.
vibe.
Yeah,
I thought
it
you were
totally
just kind of
worked.
stripping it down.
worked for you. Yeah. Tip your sound guy.
Yeah.
Did great. It's good. Well, man, Mac, it's been great having you on the show. I'll ask you, I just want to we're all in quarantine. How are you guys, your family holding up? Is everybody kind of bouncing off the walls? Has this been a creative time for you, or has it been a good season?
It's been a great season, actually.
Yeah.
It's now it doesn't mean that we're not bouncing off the walls. And I think I have 5 kids, and all of us here, there's 7 of us in the house, my wife and our 5 kids, and aging from 20 years old down to 10 years old. And, it's funny, on Instagram and on Twitter, which, by the way, you can follow me at Mac Powell.
Good.
There. I see all these people posting about how bored they are. We don't have time to be bored here. And I think part of having a big family is like, yeah, you can get on each other's nerves being stuck together, but also there's people there to interact with. There's people there to have conversation with. And we go on walks every single day. We have lunch and dinner together every single day. We're playing ball out in the yard with the kids. So we've got our own little small community here, and it's been amazing, really. It's a time unlike any other, and I feel like we're making the most and the best of it.
Man, that's great.
That's awesome.
Hey, would you play? You got one more song for us?
Yeah,
Anything?
I'll play a short version of an old school Third Day song. This is one of my favorites.
Brilliant.
I love it so much. I wish I had. Where's my acoustic guitar? Where did that go to? Oh well, I've got another recording going, so we can use that.
Yeah,
And we can still kind of hear it in the mic too.
Here, I'll turn this down a little bit.
There you go. The old radio version. Great.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how to explain it, but I know the words will only do. Miracles with signs and wonders aren't enough for me to prove to you, no. Don't you know I've always loved you, even before there was time. And though you turn away, I tell you still, don't you know I've always loved you, and I always will, yeah. La, da, da. Greater love is not a man than the one who gives his life to prove it, that he would do anything, and that's what I'm gonna do for you, yes. Don't you know I've always loved you, even before there was time. Though you turn away, I tell you still, don't you know I've always loved you, yeah. Don't you know I've always loved you, even before there was time. Though you turn away, I tell you still.
know I've always loved you, and I always will.
Yeah.
Woo!
Wonderful.
Great rendition. Love that.
Brilliant. Thank you, Mac.
So
It's been so good to
Hey,
good to see you.
Yeah.
Great to hear you. And yeah, all the best
was
to
a
your
treat.
family. And
All downhill from
yeah,
here.
you guys all hang in there.
Thanks for
Have
having
a
me.
terrible day now after that.
Have a good one.
That was
guys.
incredible, Mac. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
All right, back to you, John.
Appreciate it, Mac. So good to have you with us. I love the set. I love the setting. And as I said on the front end, best beard we've had in the show so far. Good luck and great sound. Really appreciate it. And Dan, as always, thank you for bringing us such great music from around the country. Really appreciate that. Now, anybody who's not seeing us live stream, well, I guess you only know this that I shoot you a pod if you're on live stream. It's kind of a little bit of a puzzle there, but you can find us on pod any place now on all the pod platforms of your preference, and please subscribe there, and then if you could write a review for us, would be very grateful for that. Till tomorrow, we're thinking about you. We love you all. You're in our prayers. Please keep us in your prayers, and God bless you all, and keep fighting the good fight. Until tomorrow, then. Bye now.